Hello, welcome back to Life Enrichment with Hank Ballinger. Today we want to talk about a way to buy property. Now, from time to time, people will ask me about how I've bought property in the past, and that's fine. I love talking about building wealth and how to buy property, teaching others. But every now and then somebody will say, we'll put it on your video channel, put it on your YouTube channel so that everybody can see ways to buy real estate. And I think that's fascinating. I watch other people that have bought real estate. I love these guys who have thousands and thousands of units. It's really interesting to see how aggressive they've been. You know, you're not going to sit back and wealth just come to you if you have thousands and thousands of units like Ken McElroy and Grant Cardone and others. So these guys are pretty aggressive. So take notes, listen to some of their podcasts. I'm sure you would gain volumes of information from them. But today we want to talk about a way that I bought property, and I'll take you through it step by step. Before we get into that, I would like to say I appreciate those who watch the channel. If you could, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It really helps us. We would really appreciate that. Tell others. Share us on Facebook. We would greatly appreciate the efforts. Thank you. Well, buying real estate is a lot of fun. And several years ago, Donald Trump put out a book called The Art of the Deal. Now, like Donald Trump as a person or as a businessman or as a president, not going to get into any politics or anything like that. It's an interesting book. But what I will say is, in The Art of the Deal, he talks about how it's the chase, trying to get a property. And he's right. He nails it. It's really fun to try and get a piece of property, a piece of real estate. But the thing of it is, when you go to the closing table and you get that piece of real estate, now the high is gone. Yeah, you've got that piece of real estate in your name, but you're not chasing something else. Now you've got to go chase another piece of real estate to get that same high. And then once you get that one and you go to the closing table, you've got to get that high again. You've got to chase another piece of real estate. And it is interesting, the art of the deal. Now, what's interesting is after you buy a piece or two of real estate, try to do something different. Do some owner finance. Do some getting money partners. Do it different ways, because it will broaden the way that you can buy and sell real estate, and it will give you more options, which will build you more wealth. But I want to walk through today a way that I have bought real estate. True life story here. So I had a realtor one day. He called me. He had a piece of property. It was 29 units. The seller was asking $1.2 million for it. Now, if you do the math, that's $41,379.21 per unit. Pretty good price. Pretty good price. Even back several years ago when we bought it, that was still a good price back then. It'd be a great price today. Not likely you're going to get it, but if you can, grab it. But anyway, the problem was I had bought a piece of property the month before using equity out of another piece of property that I had. So I took one property I had, used the equity out of it to buy another one. But the month before that, I had bought a property. I had to take on two partners, and we spent everything that we had. I had no cash. I had no equity. I had nothing. I had zero money. I had zero equity to put into buying this property. Remember that it was a $1.2 million property, and I have no money. So this realtor calls me up and he says, would you be interested in a 29-unit property for $1.2 million? I said, sure, I'd be interested. I said, I want to come see it. So he set up an appointment, and I walked through some units, and I looked at them. They were C-type property in Richmond, Kentucky, which is my wheel well. That's what I love. A lot of value add in C-type property. Some people call it value add. Some people call it forced appreciation. It's my type property. I can buy it, raise rents, raise the value of the property, and refinance and borrow against it later and buy more property. Great system, works really well. So I go look at these 29 units, and I realize, yeah, they're asking 1.2, which is low, only 41,000 per unit. But in a year or so, we could get those rents way up, and we could borrow against that property and buy something else. And the reason I keep saying we is because, remember, I had zero money. I had no money. So I went and looked at this property, and I wanted to get the property. It was a good property. So I called a buddy of mine. Remember, I said 2 months before I had gotten with 2 partners to buy a property. One of those partners decided he wanted to go in with me on this deal. So I called him and I said, here's the deal. I said, I've got the property. Not going to tell you where it's at, but I said, I've got the property. You get a money guy, and the money guy puts up the money for the down payment. You can manage it. I told him he could manage it, and I would do the maintenance. And I said we would go third, and third on the property, meaning each one of us would have 1/3 ownership in the property. But the money man would never have to take a call, never have to do any managing. That would be the other guy. And the money man would never have to do any maintenance. That would be me. So I told him, I said, if you can get a money guy, we can get this property. And I told the realtor, I said, give me a few days. Let me try to get this going. The guy that I called and said, you get a money guy, he called me a half hour later and he said, I've got a money guy. And I said, there's no way you got a money guy in a half an hour. He said, I got a money guy. And sure enough, we sat down, and here's how the deal worked. The money guy, remember, it's 1.2 million. If you do the math, 20% of that would be 240,000. But we worked out a deal where the owner would do a 10% owner finance, meaning he would carry $120,000. So the money man only had to put up $120,000. And me and the other guy, remember, we put up zero. He did the managing, I did the maintenance. The money man now only has to put up $120,000, and the seller will do a $120,000 owner finance. So we bought the property and we raised those rents pretty aggressively. And a year later, we bought the next 2 buildings just down from that. So I told the realtor I was interested in the property. I had to take on a partner from the previous, one of the previous deals, and we got a money partner. Now, a year later, the next 2 buildings, 2 6-unit buildings, came available. The owner of those buildings said he would sell those to us because we own the 8 buildings right, or 6 buildings right beside of him. He said he would sell those 2 buildings to us. We had raised the value in the 29 units enough that we could take out equity from the 29 units, pay the money guy back his $120,000, and have enough money to put down to buy this property. Now we have 41 units. And nobody has any money out of pocket. Remember, we paid the money guy back the $120,000. So now all 3 partners, and still the money man still never had to take a call, still never had to do any maintenance. He was the money man. That was his job. And we paid him back. But we now have 41 units, and we are third, and third owners in that property. A year later, as we got to looking out at these 41 units we now had, we noticed that there was a lot of land out back. It went straight over a hill. And we had to build that land up because we could get an additional, it was 5 acres of land. With 5 acres in Richmond, Kentucky, you can get 69 units. 13 on the first acre, 14 on every acre thereafter. That's 69 units. We could get on this 5 acres, but it went straight over a hill. We had to bring in about 1,000 truckloads of dirt and work this down. It was a big job, but we did it. Now here's how we did it. We took the debt on the whole property and moved the debt and had to survey it off and put the debt on the existing property on the front 41 units. That way the back property was paid off free and clear. That land had no debt against it. We used that land as the down payment to build the 28 units. So still, no money out of pocket. We ended up with 69 units on that land. The money man had come out of pocket $120,000. A year later, we paid him back. So now we have 69 units. None of us now have a dime out of pocket, and we have 69 units. Now, did we cash flow? No. We didn't cash flow and put any money in our pockets for several years. But that was a great deal. Why was that a great deal? Because it taught me how to do that. I could literally have nothing in my pocket and get a 29 unit, then a 41 unit, then a 69 unit. It taught me a great deal about how to use other people's money, OPM, other people's money. And then it also taught me if you're aggressive and you keep pushing, you can make things happen. So it was a great learning curve, really great, really good. So I learned that. Now we have 69 units, and a little while later, I sold out. I sold out to 2 other partners, and I took that money that I made. Remember, I have nothing in this property, nothing. I've got nothing in it. When I sell it, I take my third and I buy other real estate that I kept a few years and leveraged off of that to buy other real estate, leveraged off that to buy others. I literally took that nothing that I put in and now have made millions of dollars in real estate from that. It can happen. It's very possible. If I can do it, anybody can do this. Not a rocket scientist. Didn't do that well in school, didn't go to college. If I can do it, anybody can do it. It's very possible. You do have to be aggressive. You have to keep pushing. You have to keep thinking every day. Keep pushing. Now, when that realtor called, I could have said no. I could have said, I don't have any money. I bought property the 2 previous months. I don't have any money. I don't have any equity. Can't look at the property. I don't want it. And I could have just passed on the deal. But look what I would have been giving up. The opportunity to not only get property for nothing and turn it into millions, but also, and more importantly, the lesson of being able to do this. Now, I can replicate this all I want. All I've got to do is do the very same thing. If I've done it once, the second time's kind of therapeutic, isn't it? You just keep doing the same thing. So if I can do it, you can do it. This is a way to buy real estate. There are a lot of ways. Entrepreneurs figure out ways to buy real estate. It's a lot of fun. You can do it. You can become redneck rich. See you on the next video.